Do I have an energy drink? I I slept for 4 hours last night. I've been editing videos. I've been writing scripts. I'm very tired. Didn't feel like playing any games today, so instead, we're gonna watch The Funny Mouse that's owned by the general public now. Just gonna fetch myself an energy drink. I think I got one in here. Oh, everything in my fridge fell down. I think I got an energy drink. Yeah, I got other options. I have. Oh, yeah. Monster Zero. Monster Zero, which will really hit the spot after the night I've had. And I've got some Pepsi Max to wash it down with. And, konnichiwa. Welcome, Johnny. So, it's a tricky one. Saying which version of Mickey Mouse is safe to use is a tricky thing to get right. Because people are saying black and white only. Allegedly, a poster from 1928 depicts Mickey Mouse in color with yellow gloves, thus meaning a gloved Mickey Mouse with red shorts is safe to use. Naturally, I don't think Disney is going to come out and say what's safe to use and what's not safe to use. Because I think it's in their best interest to wait for people to fuck up. And get them. Right? Right. Playlist. Start paused. Play and stop. Yeah. Best to err on the side of caution. And to watch what other people are doing, and if they get fucked up for something, keeping an eye out for what it was. I'm just gonna get the concentration light on. Ugh. This is the light I was staring at until about 5 a.m. last night when I decided to go to 5 a.m. this morning when I decided to go to bed. But just been cranking out content, getting an idea for the future of the channel in regards to this year. Member only content is a big one. Getting videos in members' hands 3 or even 4 weeks before they're due to go live to the public, that sort of thing. The next Sushi Bites I'll probably make available for 2 weeks to members before the general public. I think that's going to be my standard practice going forwards. And then the shorter videos that react to the news, those will be like they always were, uploaded when done and immediately available to everyone. Oh, I just need to add VLC as a source. Oh, I can add a VLC video source. I don't want to do that. I want to add VLC as a game capture. Can I do that? Specific window. VLC Steamboat Willie. There we go. Yeah, there we are. Take capture cursor off. So 3 Mickey Mouse shorts entered the public domain on January 1st. They are Steamboat Willie, Galloping Gaucho, and Plain Crazy. Steamboat Willie is available with sound, but the sound for Gallopin, Gaucho, and Plain Crazy, those soundtracks were copyrighted later. Even though the sound for Plain Crazy was completed when the animation for Plain Crazy was completed, because it was not copyrighted until later, that isn't in the public domain yet. So the other two Mickey Mouse shorts, Plain Crazy, Gallopin' Gaucho, are only available to watch in silent, which is annoying, to say the least. Yeah, okay, we've got volume controls. One more thing I need to do is open up the playlist and drag in Mickey Mouse, Gallopin' Gaucho, and Plain Crazy. Now the versions I have, don't tell Disney, the versions I have of those two shorts are the versions with audio. I don't see Disney selling them. However, I will be playing them muted, which is ultimately the same difference. I won't be broadcasting them with their soundtracks. Okay, let's start with Steamboat Willie then. Let's start with Mickey Mouse's first official appearance. I have never sat through this in full. Ever. Like, I've seen bits of it, but I've never sat through it in full. Let's go. There he is. There's that boy. Wow, Mickey Mania's level based on this was actually quite accurate. Come on. There we go. Get back to work. That is a tasty beverage. Oh, it is. This is the Zero monster. It's so good. It's the one that tastes like full sugar, but it's zero. So, looking at this from the point of view of it being in the public domain, you've got access to all these characters. If you want to make something. Of course, you can't use Mickey Mouse as a logo. I believe that's protected under trademark. But the characters themselves, the setting, and the soundtrack to this short, you can remix in any way that you want. Reanimate the whole thing? Take the characters and use them wholesale in something else? A-okay. Notice that the name tag disappeared from around the cow's neck for like a couple of frames. Oh, he's got an idea. Ah, yes, of course, Minnie Mouse as well. Personally, I'm waiting for Minnie's Hoo Hoo to enter the public domain, but I think we've got like 4 more years before that song. Turkey in the straw? Of course. Amazing. Nice little paradiddle there. You've ruined it, Mickey. You've ruined it. Wow, original Mickey Mouse was such a jerk. What an asshole. I'm kind of kicking myself for never watching this before. This is wild. To think, this thing's almost 100 years old. It's alright, the animals look like they were fine with it. Potato bin? Go on, throw the knife at him. Okay, throwing the potato at him's good too. That was fun. That's a fun cartoon. So that was Steamboat Willie. The next short that was released was the Gallopin Gaucho. To explain again, what I explained at the start. The soundtrack to this is not in the public domain. So, we'll turn that down to 0. Even though there is a copyright year down here, the copyright year is 1929. The short's visuals were copyrighted in 1928. The short soundtrack, 1929. So we have to watch it on silent, which, for sound cartoons, is shite. Right? But any visuals featured in this short are free for people to use and remix to make money from. She's got Mickey Mouse with a hat and a scarf. Would love to be able to hear the music. Wow. Wow, it definitely was from a different time, eh? you can use Smokin' Mickey. You can use Seductive Minnie Mouse. Beer and cigarettes? Man, they had a lot of fun 100 years ago, huh? Would love to be able to hear the dance they're doing. They rubbing necks with each other. Oh no! Is he rubbing his trousers in anticipation? Oh yeah, the old Flintstone ads, yeah. For, was it Laramie cigarettes? Can't remember who exactly it was for, but it's like, oh, Fred, aren't these delicious, velvety, smooth cigarettes really good, huh? Yeah, bud. I'm gonna get cancer in the Stone Age. Yeah, I know the ads that you're talking about. Yeah, it's wild to think that all these things were socially acceptable back then. You got these donkey. You got the donkey here. You can use anything from this. Like, I'm trying to spark up some ideas here. Because now with Mickey Mouse, this version of Mickey Mouse in the public domain, Oswald the Rabbit's been in public domain for a little while. There's nothing stopping, an epic Mickey spiritual successor. All I'm saying is, if anybody's got Warren Spector's Uh, contact details, please. Please get in touch with the man. Using starch to get the creases out. Is he gonna pick the lock? Oh no. I thought he might be trying to pick the lock. Now he's gonna swing himself up there. Thought he might pick the lock with his tail. Of course. Classic cartoon logic, right? Oh! Right in the ass. Was that his belly button? Did he pull his belly button off? Oh. It went a bit floppy on Mickey there for a second. A bedpan! Oh no! Considering when this was made, like, the bedpan, the whole point of the bedpan is you take a. You relieve yourself in the middle of the night, chuck it out your bedroom window. There might be something in that pan. That was awful. That would be unpleasant. So that was the Gallopin Gaucho. The visuals for that were definite dropping. What do you mean? Like, are there droppings in that bedpan? Absolutely, 100%. No doubt about that. So that was Gallopin Gaucho. Again, the visuals for that were copyrighted in 1928, but the soundtrack was not. So, you can't adapt the soundtrack of that short, but you can adapt the visuals, characters, anything that isn't audio from that short. The last short that has entered the public domain this year is Plain Crazy, and again, it's the same situation. Yeah, volume's on 0. It's the same situation where the visuals were copyrighted in 1928, but the audio was copyrighted in 1929. So once again, you cannot adapt the audio from Plain Crazy. But you can adapt characters, settings, visuals, anything that is not audio. So copyright is a little bit complicated because Disney and several other companies have gone out of their way to make it complicated. For copyrighted works before a certain time, it's 95 years. And then I can't remember what it is past that certain time. Uh, let's look it up. What's the one I'm looking for? There was a place that had a particularly good rundown on. It was Duke Law School. It was Duke Law School that that I was looking at. Public domain frequently asked questions. Copyrighted material. Copyright Term Extension Act. The Copyright Term Extension Act is a 1998 law that extended the copyright term to life of the author plus 70 years and to 95 years after publication for works for hire owned by corporations. So works owned by an individual author 70 years after their death. For works owned by corporations, it's 95 years after the publication. So it's not as simple as saying everything after 1928, for example. Although I would be surprised if there was any. Well, there might be some work. Yeah, there might be some works from 1928 that are still copyrighted under life of the author plus 70 years. So it's not as simple as saying everything up to a certain date is public domain, because Mickey Mouse is owned by a corporation and not by an individual. It is a so-called work for hire that is 95 years after publication, which is why I see your mouth open to answer the, and then boom, ad. Odd not to make it an even 100. Yeah, I was honestly expecting Disney to try to pull something at the very last minute to change how the copyright in the US works again. The Copyright Term Extension Act is quite commonly referred to as the Mickey Mouse Protection Act. That's not what it's called, but it's what people refer to it as, because it was seemingly an answer to Mickey Mouse. There was something else as well, was it? Was it Oz? It was something else that was protected. No way, hold on. Metropolis? Hold on. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here. Movies entering the public domain. Metropolis. What? What? Fritz Lang's Metropolis has entered the public domain. No way. No way. In fact, that was last year, apparently. No way. It's crazy. Metropolis has been in the public domain for 1 year. That's crazy. Anyway, any more questions before we jump into... Oh, ads will run shortly for some viewers in 49 seconds. So just to clarify, 95 years after the publication of the work, if it is a work for hire, i.e. it is a work owned by a corporation. If it is a work owned by an individual, it is the life of the individual plus 70 years. These are the rules as per the Copyright Term Extension Act from 1998, also lovingly referred to as the Mickey Mouse Protection Act. We shall start this Mickey Mouse cartoon in maybe about a minute or so, just because I don't want to clash with the ads YouTube says it's running. So I'll just fire up the public domain day page, or capture it here, and we can go through maybe some of the things that are now in the public domain. Love the visual that they've made for this, with Steamboat Willie right there in the center. Super cool. So we are in 2024, aren't we? Yeah. Okay. So, Lady Chatterley's Lover, Bertolt Brecht, the Threepenny Opera. Is that where the Whiskey Bar song comes from? Or am I getting confused for another? I might be getting confused with another opera. Virginia Woolf's Orlando. Eric Maria Remarks All Quiet on the Western Front. Oh, yeah, the war novel. I'm familiar with it. I've read it. W.B. Du Bois, Dark Princess, Claude McKay, Home to Harlem. A.A. Milne, House at Pooh Corner, introducing Tigger. So Tigger is now in the public domain. I am happy to report. J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan, The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up, because the play script was not published until 1928. Note that Barrie's 1911 novel Peter and Wendy has been in the public domain since 1967. Radcliffe Hall, The Well of Loneliness, Evelyn Waugh, Decline and Fall, Agatha Christie, Mystery of the Blue Train. Look at that, you could adapt an Agatha Christie novel. Wonder Gag, Millions of Cats, the oldest American picture book still in print. Robert Frost, West Running Brook, Ben Hecht and Charles MacArthur, the front page. These are just a few of the thousands of works entering the public domain in 2024. They present a snapshot of cultural struggles of the time, some of which seem decidedly relevant today. There are books that were banned for obscenity, a critique of inhumanity of capitalist society, works from the Harlem Renaissance, and a reminder of the lingering trauma from World War I. There are works exploring gender fluidity and sexuality, including Orlando, a feminist classic about a character liberated from the restraints of time and sex, and The Well of Loneliness, an exploration of lesbian love. There are literary classics and great theatrical works, bestsellers and works of high culture. There are even children's books. Cat lovers can rejoice over millions of cats and Tigger bouncing into the 100-acre wood. Films: Steamboat Willie and Plain Crazy. Interesting. They don't list... They don't list the Gallopin Gaucho here. I have to scrub that from the VOD. The Cameraman, directed by Edward Sedgwick and Buster Keaton. Lights of New York. The Circus, directed by Charlie Chaplin. The Passion of Joan of Arc. No way. The film they tried to destroy until a random copy was found. Nice to know. The Singing Fool, directed by Lloyd Bacon. Speedy. In Old Arizona, 100% all-talking film featuring singing cowboys. Let's check that out at some point. That sounds like fun. The Man Who Laughs, Should Married Men Go Home, The Wind, The Wedding March, The Crowd, The Last Command, Street Angel, Disney's remaining Oswald the Lucky Rabbit cartoons. Right. Yes, Steamboat Willie is finally entering the public domain. Welcome Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. Read what that means here. But many more wonderful films will also be free of copyright. So Mickey, Disney, and the public domain. A version of Mickey Mouse will enter the United States public domain. First movies in which the iconic mouse appeared were made in 1928. I have a life plus 70-year term for older works. That might affect the UK. Public domain has some recent famous arrivals, but this is the most anticipated entry yet. Why? It is not simply that Mickey Mouse is a famous copyrighted character, so are Sherlock Holmes and Winnie the Pooh. The reason this event gathers so much attention is that it is the story of a 95-year love triangle, a tangled drama that rivals Disney movie for twists and turns. The protagonists are Mickey, Disney, and the public domain, and their relationship positively exemplifies the social media weasel words, "It's complicated." On the one hand, Disney pushed for the law that extended the copyright term to 95 years, which became referred to derisively as the Mickey Mouse Protection Act. This extension has been criticized by scholars as being economically regressive and having a devastating effect on our ability to digitize, archive, and gain access to our cultural heritage. Amen! It locked up not just famous works, but a vast swath of our culture, including material that is commercially unavailable. Even though calling it the Mickey Mouse Protection Act may overstate Disney's actual role in the legislative process, the measure passed because of a much broader lobbying effect. Disney was certainly a prominent supporter, and the mouse was sometimes a figurehead. On the other hand, Disney itself is a talented and successful practitioner of building upon the public domain. Yeah, I know. Like, everything in their early catalog was public domain. Public domain includes not only works which copyright has expired or never existed, but also uncopyrightable aspects of contemporary works, such as ideas, stock elements, and unoriginal material. The Mickey character itself is based on such public domain fodder. Yes. As they say, Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks. I would say Felix the Cat as well. Don't know if they would specifically mention Felix the Cat. Steamboat Bill Jr. I didn't know about that. But that, Bill, Willie, Will is, yeah. Bill is short for William, yeah. Hence the triangle. Disney is both an emblem of the term extension and its erosion of public domain, and one of the strongest use cases in favor of the maintenance of a rich public domain. What can I do with Mickey Mouse as of January 1st, 2024? You are now free to copy, share, and build on Mickey Mouse 1.0. You cannot use Mickey Mouse in a way that misleads consumers into thinking your work is produced or sponsored by Disney. My stream is not sponsored, produced, or otherwise created by Disney in any way, shape, or form. Newer copyrights. You cannot use copyrightable versions of Mickey until those copyrights expire. Steamboat Willie and the characters it depicts, which include Mickey and Minnie Mouse, will be in the public domain. Courts have made clear that when a story falls into public domain, story elements including characters covered by the expired copyright become fair game for follow-on authors. As indicated in the green circle, that means anyone can share, adapt, remix that material. You can start your creative engines too, full steam ahead. You could take a page out of Winnie the Pooh, the Deforested Edition playbook, and create Steamboat Willie, the Climate Change Edition. No. You could reimagine Mickey and Minnie dedicating themselves to animal welfare. Don't start. You could do all this and more as long as you steer clear of the subsisting rights in the orange circles. Mainly, use the original versions of Mickey and Minnie Mouse from 1928 without copyrightable elements of later iterations. Though not every later iteration will be copyrightable. Do not confuse consumers into thinking that your creation is sponsored or produced by Disney as a matter of trademark law. One way to ensure your audience is not confused is to make the actual source of the work, you or your company, clear on the title screen or cover, along with a prominent disclaimer indicating your work was not produced, endorsed, licensed, or approved by Disney. I feel like the latter is completely unnecessary. The general public is not fucking stupid. If somebody releases a Mickey Mouse themed horror game on Steam, nobody is going to think, oh, it's weird that Disney would allow that. People aren't that stupid. So I disagree with the latter there. So is January the 1st, 2024 Doomsday for Disney? No, Disney still retains copyright over newer iterations of Mickey, such as the Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia, as well as trademarks over Mickey as a brand identifier. People will still go to its theme parks, pay to see its movie, buy its merchandise, as the brand identity will remain intact. Let's see. Mere ideas are not eligible, nor are unoriginal features or stock elements. When copyrights claimed over additions to pre-existing content, such as the changes to the 1928 Mickey character, those changes have to be more than merely trivial or minuscule variation. Therefore, while the safest approach may be to stick to Mickey circa 1928 in new creations, copyright law also lets you use later material that does not qualify for copyright. Your mouse can speak intelligibly in a high voice, even though Mickey 1.0 does not do so. Giving a talking mouse a squeaky voice is not copyrightable. Yep. Fair dues. Generic character traits such as being adorable and having less jaunty dance moves are fair game. What's more, anything you independently create or come up with yourself is legal. Choosing your own color scheme is fine. You do not have to stick to black and white. Can Disney claim copyright over the color red? I think this is an important thing to clarify. On the one hand, when talking about copyright's originality requirement, the Supreme Court said the requisite level of creativity is extremely low, even a slight amount will suffice. The vast majority of works make the grade quite easily as they possess some creative spark, no matter how crude, humble, or obvious it might be. But the law is also clear that adding something to a prior work must be more than a merely trivial variation. To us, the argument seems stronger that choosing a single bright primary color for an article of clothing does not meet the copyrightability threshold. I agree. That said, you may be more comfortable selecting your own color scheme. This article shows a fully colorized poster of Mickey Mouse made in 1928, but it is not clear if the poster was published for copyright purposes. Yeah, that's the tricky part. So this is the one that I'm using in the current thumbnail for the stream. This was made in 1928. We don't know if it was copyrighted in 1928. And that's the tricky part. A color Mickey Mouse might still be not in the public domain. But I would argue putting gloves on a character really does not feel like anything more than a trivial change. Especially when the character has already been seen wearing different clothes, like a scarf in Gallopin, Gaucho. Which they're listing as 1929, so that's curious. Because I was under the impression Gallopin Gaucho was safe. Note that the public domain enables all sorts of remakes. In the short term, buzzworthy reuses such as horror films tend to attract attention because of the shock value and incongruity with the original characters. In the long term, however, our culture gets to decide what kind of remakes stand the test of time. Yeah, that's fair. What about Disney's trademark over Mickey? Many sources claim that even though Mickey is copyright-free in 2024, you still cannot use the character because it is trademarked by Disney. But this is not what the law actually says. Trademark law only prohibits the use of a trademark character if doing so is likely to cause confusion or to cause a mistake or to deceive. So as long as you make it clear, which I would argue you could do by not having the Disney name or logo anywhere on your product, which you wouldn't have anyway, because your thing is not supported by Disney, and if you make it clear it's not an official Disney thing by, doing something different with the original source material, then I would argue that you don't fall into that trap. Copyright and trademarks are different. Copyrights cover creative works and prevent people from copying and adapting them without permission, with the goal of providing economic incentives to create and distribute, cover words, logos, and other signifiers. Right, so that I think is the difference. Yeah, I think it would be safe to not use the name Mickey Mouse on things. Yeah, Disney has started using this logo before some of its films. You know why, right? Because they were aware that this was coming up. So they're like, Steamboat Willie right at the start of a film? That's a trademarked logo. I mean, it is. But I don't think that is protection enough. I mean, the ultimate protection when it comes to copyright is the fact that Disney has fuck tons of money, and they could take you to court and it would be nothing to them to destroy someone. But in terms of the actual law, I don't think putting Steamboat Willie at the start of their movies is a protection of the Steamboat Willie copyright. It's a protection of the Steamboat Willie trademark. When a public domain work is copied along with its title, there is little likelihood of confusion when even the most minimal steps are taken to distinguish the publisher of the original from that of the copy. The public is receiving just what it believes it is receiving, the work with which the title has become associated. The public is not only unharmed, it is unconfused. I think making a Mickey Mouse hat and selling it with a disclaimer on it that says not made by Disney, general public could be confused by that. I think that's entirely possible. Anyway, let's go ahead and watch Plane Crazy. Again, the soundtrack for this was not released to the public. Was not copyrighted until 1929. So, unfortunately, we don't get to hear the audio for this short either. Lindy. Got to put a big grin on your face. Yeah, there we go. Now you look like him. Pretty sure that's not how the first planes flew. There is a lot to be said for the way they treat animals in these early shorts. You can't just make a plane like that. It's not that simple. Wow. Wow, this behavior is just completely appalling. Hey, Minnie's not wearing a bra in this one. They must have already given up on that. To be fair, having to draw everything every time was a pain in the ass back then, because animation like this was still sort of new. Especially stuff that was set to music and sound. Did they go through the... Oh, I thought for a second they went through the cow. He's always getting milked on. That Mickey has a fetish. And Mickey being in the public domain, they should add a Mickey boss to Cuphead. You won't kiss me? I'll threaten our lives. Oh my god! Mickey! The horseshoe. Well, he got what he deserved in the end. Let's go back to the... What about more recent versions of Mickey? Oh no, I've read that. Other things entering the public domain this year. Definitely think we should watch The Singing Fool. No, sorry, not The Singing Fool. In Old Arizona on stream. Musical compositions: Animal Crackers, Mac the Knife. Yes. When you're smiling, making whoopee. You're my necessity. You're the cream in my coffee. I'll have to have a look at all these and see if there's anything that's useful. Yes, we have no bananas. A lot of stuff from this time is likely to be very offensive. In 2022, under a new law called the Music Modernization Act, decades of sound recordings from the advent of recording technology through to the end of 1922 went into the public domain. In 2023, there was a pause with no sound recordings entering the public domain. Now in 2024, recordings from 1923 are open for legal reuse. You can download, remix, or use them in a soundtrack. Yes, these recordings are a century old, but better late than never. As you look through the list above, note that only the 1923 recordings made by these artists are entering the public domain. Yeah, so you could make re-recordings of these songs, your own versions of them, and not owe anybody a cent. But if you used a later recording, there would be copyright issues. Library of Congress National Jukebox will make all its 1923 recordings in its collection available for download from the site, while the recordings from 1924 forward will be streaming only until they are in the public domain. Copyright will also expire over works of art such as M.C. Escher's The Tower of Babel woodcut. While we were able to locate copyright records indicating that Escher's work is copyrighted through to the end of 2023, we did not find definitive copyright information for other notable works. What we do know is the art published in 1928, including drawings, paintings, and photography, will be in the public domain in 2024, but many works were actually copyright-free earlier due to non-compliance with the notice and renewal formalities. Tip of the melting iceberg. Many of the works featured above are famous, which is why we included them. Their copyright holders benefited from 20 more years of copyright because the works had enduring popularity and were still earning royalties. But when Congress extended the copyright term for works like Steamboat Willie, it also did so for all of the works whose commercial viability had long subsided. For the vast majority, probably 99% of works from 1928, no copyright holder financially benefited from continued copyright, yet they remained off limits for no good reason. A Congressional Research Service report indicated that only around 2% of copyrights between 55 and 75 years old retain commercial value. Thank you. Make it 55 years. After 75 years, that percentage is even lower. Most older works are orphan works where the copyright owner cannot be found at all. Now that these works are in the public domain, anyone can make them available to the public. This enables access to our cultural heritage, access to materials that might otherwise be forgotten. 1928 was a long time ago. The majority of works from that year are out of circulation. When they enter the public domain in 2024, anyone can republish and post them online. A lot of that stuff is gone now. A lot of old films, a lot of old books, a lot of old stories are gone. Copyright term extension blues. When the US finally turned on the public domain spigot in 2019 after a 20-year drought, Canada's government recently decided to turn its spigot off. In 2022, Canada froze its public domain for 20 years. The verdict is adding an extra 20 years to US copyright term was a big mistake. Agreed? This was not a quote from someone who is equivocal about copyright. It is a quote from the former head of our copyright office. Right. Even the lawmakers think it was a bad idea. So no one would be silly to keep extending copyright. Wrong. Canada, New Zealand, and Japan have recently lengthened their copyright terms by 20 years, not as a result of a reasoned debate, but to comply with trade deals that require harmonization of copyright terms. With harmonization, there is a catch. Countries are always made to harmonize with the longer term, never the shorter term, even if the shorter term is a better choice for both economic and policy reasons. Does that mean the anchor works that I was sampling are now back in copyright? Because I was sampling them when they were out of copyright. Ooh, that's confusing. Conclusion, I will create this guide to the works that will be entering into the US public domain. This year is especially symbolic because of Mickey Mouse's long anticipated entry into public domain. Fascinating. I've got a lot of bedtime reading tonight. Oh. Oh, fuck. So we got what? What are the things that are happening? There's 2 Mickey Mouse horror films. There's a Mickey Mouse horror video game. And as they said here on the Duke Law website, a lot of the time people go for the immediate shock factor, the shock value. It reminds me, I haven't seen Blood and Honey. Not sure I particularly want to. Yeah, so here's the Steamboat Willie was not the only Mickey Mouse film from 1928. The mouse appeared in 2 other films shown the same year, silent versions of Plain Crazy and Gallopin' Gaucho. The data in the catalogue of copyright entries indicates that the silent version of Plain Crazy is public domain in 2024, but we could not find similar data for the Gallopin' Gaucho. While the original silent version of Plain Crazy is not available, we assume the footage is the same or similar to the footage in the publicly available version that added sound the subsequent year. The copyright notices on the available copies of those films say 1929, so that is when the sound versions entered the public domain. Yeah, so that's my argument. Disney's registrations and renewals for those same films claim a 1930 date, but if the date in the copyright notice is earlier than the registration date, the earlier date controls. So they are in the public domain in 2025. I would argue that they are in the public domain now, but I'm happy to scrub them from the VOD if they're not. Right, well, it's been a long day. I got 4 hours sleep, editing videos and writing scripts, so I'm gonna head off. This has been fascinating, though. I'm so tired. I'll do something constructive tomorrow. I've done a lot of constructive things today. Oh, night all.